This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be? But me, your me. Louie T, welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Louie. Thank you for joining me. This is NFL Draft Prospect 101, where we break down many of the prospective prospects looking to enter the National Football League. Break them down, talk about strengths and weaknesses, and where they probably will end up being drafted in this year's upcoming draft. So we start with the position that matters the most in the entire National Football League, that being the quarterback position. We all know how it goes, and I say this all the time, and I mean it when I say it. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance in this league. And so that's where we'll start breaking down these prospects, and we start with probably the best quarterback in this draft class, definitely the most NFL ready as packaged right now. Of course, I'm talking about one famous Jameis Winston. Hey, he's looking to trademark that, by the way, so watch out for that as well. But here's a guy that, coming out of Florida State, has a lot of the things you're looking for on the field. And of course, we know about some of the off-the-field issues. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Let's start with his pros. And these are things that you can measure. These are the things that you can actually write down and see them and see how he stacks up against the rest of his peers. You start with his size. He's got ideal size for an NFL quarterback. 6'3", 230 pounds or so. We've seen him get up there and weight. Has a frame like a Ben Roethlisberger, big lower body, hard to bring down in the pocket. So that's something that's going to benefit him. Can see over the line, can make all the throws. That's something that is going to benefit him at the next level. Speaking of making all the throws, strong arm, another pro for Jameis Winston. Can throw it anywhere on the field, has no problems throwing to the outer hashes, can get the football down the field. His arm is definitely something that is a pro for Jameis Winston. You also look at him being a winner. 26-1 at Florida State in 2 years of service. That's winning, if you ask me. His freshman season, his redshirt freshman season, where he went undefeated, 14-0, won the Heisman Trophy and the national championship. So he is definitely a winner, and that is something that will go a long way to helping him in the National Football League. You go to things you can't measure, or intangibles. We like to call these things intangibles. Either you got them or you don't. And these are some things that Jameis Winston has. A, he has confidence. That's something that if you're a great player at any level, at any sport, okay, and really in any walk of life, this doesn't just apply to athletics. If you're good at what you do, you're confident, bordering cocky. And a lot of people can take it the wrong way, but if you're confident in your abilities, you're going to be very confident and borderline cocky. And like I said this in many of the shows previous to this one, if you're a great player, you're going to have an ego. That's just a part of what it takes to be a great player. Great players have an aura about them that says, I'm better than you, I know I'm better than you, and I'll prove it. And so, yeah, it can rub people the wrong way, but that's just the way it is. You have to have that. You have to have that extra bit of confidence if you're going to be a great player. Great players always have that. Jameis Winston has that. Is he a great player? We don't know. He was at the college level. We'll see if he can translate that to the next level. We'll see. But he does have confidence oozing out of every nook and cranny of his body. You talk about competitiveness. That's another strength of Jameis Winston. You don't go 26-1 in college and not be a competitive guy. He wants to win, and winners win. Okay? Winners find a way to get it done, and he found a way to get it done. He's a very competitive guy, wants to be the best that there is. I think Jameis Winston and his competitiveness is also going to, you know what, it's funny, we talk about competitiveness and you see guys who want to win and they do whatever it takes to get their team over the hump. Those are the guys you want on your team. He's that type of God. You go to natural leader, that's another big time pro for Jameis Winston. I fell in love with Jameis Winston probably about 4 or 5 years ago. First time I laid eyes on him, Elite 11 camp. The Elite 11 camp was on ESPN. It was hosted by Trent Dilfer, and he had these high school kids, and they were out there performing and going through a little competition, if you will, to see who would win, who was the best of the crop, and he was the best at that Elite 11 camp. And those are all high school players looking to go to college. He was the best then. He was the best at the combine, and I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. And I saw him against Clemson in his redshirt freshman season, and they were going to Death Valley. Both teams were undefeated at the time. I think it was a top 5 matchup. Both teams were in the top 5 at the time. And he stands up and gives this rah-rah speech, and it's just an awesome display of leadership. And you don't expect those kind of qualities from a red shirt freshman. Again, everyone is looking to this guy, and when you're the quarterback, a lot of times that is the case, but you don't expect a red shirt freshman to be the one giving those type of speeches. They go out, they drub Clemson in Death Valley, and they've helped propel them to that national championship undefeated season. So to me, he's the natural leader. I'll give you another example. In that playoff game, the only loss he suffered in his entire collegiate career against Oregon, there's a running back, Cook, that fumbles the football on 2 consecutive possessions when the game kind of got out of hand. Jameis Winston first got over to him to tell him it's okay, pick your head up. We're going to need you later on in this game, need you to keep your head in the game. Those are the type of leadership qualities you gotta have. I think he's a natural leader, and that's something that's definitely going to help adore him to his peers at the next level. You go to the on-the-field goodies, and these are the strengths that you see on the field when you watch the tape of Jameis Winston. Because he played in a pro-style offense, it's easier to identify some of his strengths, unlike some of the guys that play in a spread offense where it's harder to identify some things. Because he played in a pro-style offense, it gives guys like myself a break, not having to try to guess as to how these different traits will translate to the next level. He can scan the field with the best of them, and I like to call it STP, sort through progressions. STP is one of his best strengths as a passer of the football. He can go through his reads quickly, make a decision, get rid of the football. You actually see him going through his progressions. As you watch him on tape, you see the head go from here to here to here and either deliver the football or check it down to the back or come back to one of his previous reads. He does a great job of scanning the field quickly and identifying an open receiver and getting them the football. That is definitely a strength. One that's going to separate him from probably the rest of the quarterbacks in this draft class in 2015. You also see he has excellent manipulation of the pocket. I really love his ability to slide. When he needs to, step up in the pocket. And then when he needs to, slide in the pocket. When he needs to, slide back in the pocket. A lot of times with players coming out of college, they don't manipulate the pocket well because in college they really didn't have to. These guys at the next level are extremely adept at getting to the quarterback. You've got to be able to buy yourself that extra split second to get rid of the football. And sometimes that extra split second is bought by just simply sliding up in the pocket, by just simply sliding to the left or sliding to the right, and buying yourself that much time to allow your receiver to shake free and get him the football. So again, his manipulation of the pocket, I think, is outstanding for a guy his age at that level going into the National Football League. That's his strength for Jameis Winston. You get another, poised in the pocket. Love his ability to stay calm when everything around him is chaotic. He is very poised in the pocket, not afraid to stare down the gun barrel and take a shot to deliver the football. He will stand in the pocket knowing that he's about to get drilled so that he can deliver a dart to his receiver. He is calm when everything around him is in disarray. Love the fact that he does not pay attention to the rush around him. So what, that there's trash around his feet, he's going to step into the throw and make it happen. He is very poised in the pocket. You look at another strength. He can extend plays. Now, this is a gift and a curse for Jameis Winston. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he can extend plays. And a lot of times in the National Football League, big plays come when things break down. when guys shake loose, because you can't ask a defensive back to cover for 5 to 7 seconds in this league. That's when guys shake free. That's when they start being nosy and their eyes come off their man and start finding the ball. And then that's when you have a guy running 45 yards open down the field. He can extend plays and make some things happen. It's a good thing. It's also a bad thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but that's something that is also a strength for Jameis Winston. Some question is eye discipline. I don't. I think it's a strength. I don't think he takes you to the football as a defender. I don't think he's one of these guys that stares down receivers and makes it easy for defenders to go after the football. I think he does a great job of manipulating linebackers and safeties so that he can get the football where he wants to deliver it. Some people don't like his eye discipline. I didn't see a problem with it. I watched enough tape to feel comfortable with his eye discipline and make it a strength. I think that's something that he does well. And last but not least, touch on the football. I think we talked about this during the combine, and I think Daniel Jeremiah actually tweeted out that he can change speeds with the football at the combine when he was throwing. He said he does a beautiful job of changing speeds. His touch is immaculate. He can drive it down the field with a lot of zip, but he can also put that feathery soft touch on the football when it is necessary. There are a couple of instances where he does that. There's another instance where he drills it in there when he has to, against Clemson in 2012 when he was a redshirt freshman, to Nick O'Leary on an out route where the ball had to be where it was and it had to be thrown with maximum velocity. He put a little bit of hot sauce to go on that pass, and it got there and it allowed Nick O'Leary to not only catch it but get up the field and get some extra yardage after the catch. So he's got touch. A lot of young guys don't have touch. When they throw screen passes, when they throw passes down the field, they don't have the right amount of touch. It's something that you have to be able to do at the next level. He has that. That's a strong part of his game. Let's go to the cons now, and there are a number of them. Not as many cons as pros, but still a couple of things that need to be tweaked with his game. You start with limited athleticism. There's nothing that he can do about this. He isn't the most athletically gifted quarterback. We saw that at the combine with his 40 time, his broad jump, his vertical. All of those things scream limited athleticism. Now, again, he's going to do the majority of his work, his damage, from behind center. He's going to be in the pocket. So really, he does not need to be uber athletic, but it always helps when you have a guy that on 3rd and 6 can run for 7 yards and move the sticks. He can do that, but he won't be able to do that very often because of how slow he is. But like I said, you know his address. You know where he's going to be on most snaps. He's going to be right behind that center. You know where he's going to be. You know his address. You know where to find him. So athleticism not going to be the biggest problem per se, but again, you always like to have your quarterback be nimble enough to make something happen when all else breaks down. We'll hold on to the ball too long. I talked about him being able to extend plays. That's a good thing. But holding on to the ball way too long isn't. And to me, they go hand in hand. Sometimes when he doesn't like what he sees, he can hold on to the ball. And maybe that's where that limited athleticism also comes into play, because when you're an athletic quarterback and you don't like what you see and you've gone through your progressions, it's time to go. You got to get out the back door and make something happen yourself. Jameis Winston, not always willing to do that, not always able to do that. And so he'll hold on to the ball, he'll take some unnecessary sacks, he'll even make a mistake or two when he has the football in his hands too long. It's something he's going to have to clean up at the next level. Want to see better anticipation from Jameis Winston. And I don't think that he's a guy that has to see a receiver come totally undressed and wide open to get him the football. I just want to see him anticipate receivers open a little bit sooner, throw into windows before receivers actually come unglued from a defender, or if it's zone coverage, throw a guy open and throw it out in front of him so that he can catch it and go much faster than slow. I'd love to see him throw with just a little bit more anticipation. I don't think it's necessarily a weakness as much as it is something he just needs to improve upon, but there is something that he can get better at throwing with a little more anticipation for me. Questionable decision making. A lot of people don't like the fact that he threw 18 interceptions last year, a lot of them coming in first half of ball games. Look, I don't know if his decision making is as much questionable as it is him trusting in his abilities just a little bit too much. I think sometimes he feels like, hey, I can fit it in there. I'm Jameis Winston. I can get this football in there. Now, you look at like the Louisville game from this year, and you say, hey, throw it into triple coverage. I don't give a damn how good you feel your abilities are. It's never a good idea to throw into triple coverage. And I agree. That's where the questionable decision making comes into play. You can't throw it into triple coverage. It's never a good idea to do that. And so there are a couple of interceptions though that happen because he feels like I can zing it in there. I can get it in there. Ball is deflected. Something bad happens. To me, that still falls in the category of decision making, but that's more of a, hey, I think I can get it in there than I don't really know what I was seeing. That's a bad decision. That's a bad throw. So I think he needs to clean up decision making. Absolutely. That's something you can't throw 3 first half interceptions in the National Football League. You can't do that and expect to bounce back. This isn't college football. You're not playing against, not playing against Duke. You're not playing against, Clemson. You're not playing against a college team. You're playing against NFL players. You go down and throw 3 interceptions early in the first half. They smell blood in the water. They're coming after you. You're going to have a rough outing. So he's going to have to clean up some of his decision making. But I don't think it's necessarily something that can't be fixed. I think there's a couple of tweaks here, a couple of tweaks there. He'll be fine in that department. This is something that I really haven't heard anybody mention. Maybe I wasn't listening. But this is something that I felt like was a little nugget, a little tidbit that I saw on film that this does alarm me. Okay? A lot of his mistakes come, and they tend to come when he throws center to the left of the field. You go back and you watch his mistakes, you watch his interceptions, and I charted a lot of them. They come center to the left of the field. So when he's throwing to the center of the field or he's throwing across his body to the left hash is when a lot of his mistakes happen. When he opens up and throws to the right, he's on the money. He doesn't have many issues going that way. It's when he throws over the middle to the left, that's where the mistakes come. He's going to have to clean it up. That's when the footwork gets a little shoddy. That's when the decision making also becomes a little shoddy. He's got to be better at making sure he takes care of the football when he throws over the middle of the field. And in the National Football League, a lot of mistakes happen over the middle of the field, especially when you're late. And to the left, when you throw across your body, you've got to put a little extra on it sometimes. You've got to make sure you're precise because, again, you throw it to the inside. When you're throwing an out-breaking route to the outside, that's 6 the other way. He's got to clean up his throws across his body and over the middle of the field. And then, of course, the elephant in the room, off the field issues. And there are a number of them. It reads like a bad rap sheet for him, and he's going to have to answer a lot of questions throughout the process. He's done that thus far. I think he's done it well, but that doesn't change the fact that these off-the-field concerns remain. And so you've got a number of issues. You've got the 2012 BB gun incident. You've got the Burger King incident, and as well as the crab legs incident. Both of those are instances where he supposedly stole from restaurant establishments. Then you have, of course, the student union on the table, vulgar exchange. That was and to me, all of those things I just named, all of them are childish behaviors. Those are things that you just chalk up to him being young and needing to mature. Again, when you talk about turning over the face of your franchise to this guy, you don't want to hear about him needing to mature. But I think those are all things you can kind of sweep under the rug and say, you know what, you got to grow up, man. All right, time for you to become a man. And so those ones aren't really the ones that really get your blood boiling and make you scratch your head. That sexual assault on the campus of Florida State is the one that scares you half to death. And so he's got a lot of explaining to do with that one. And I think he's handled it very well. Don't know what he's done in the interviews with the teams behind the scenes, but that press conference he had at the Combine I thought was excellently handled. I thought he said everything he needed to say, and he handled it the way he needed to handle it. And so that's something that I think if he can figure out how to make the teams understand that that's not who he is anymore and those things won't happen anymore, I think he'll be fine in that regard. But if you can find a way to get past the off-the-field issues, the on-the-field talent is undeniable, and this guy is definitely, to me, the best quarterback in this class. I've heard guys like Ron Jaworski say they wouldn't draft him #1 overall. you're nitpicking. If you don't want this kid number 1 overall, if you tell me it's because of the off the field issues, okay, I'll listen to you. But if you're trying to tell me that he didn't have this or that and this or that or the third on the field, then you're nitpicking. Because I can tell you that Matthew Stafford didn't come into this league ready to go. He didn't come with the best mechanics. He went number 1 overall. Don't tell me about footwork and this, that, and the third. You can't be nitpicky in this league when it comes to quarterbacks when they have the type of talent that Jameis Winston has. This guy is ready to go right now, day number 1. And I'll give you another caveat before we get out of here. You looked at his 2013 season, that redshirt freshman year where he went undefeated. 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 4,000 yards passing when he won the Heisman Trophy. To me, there is no coincidence that he had a 6'5" receiver in Kelvin Benjamin to throw the football to that would allow him to just throw the football up, put it in some positions where defenders couldn't get their hands on the football. Give you a great example, that national championship touchdown, that game winner against Auburn, that football was perfectly placed. No one else on the field had a chance to catch that football other than Kelvin Benjamin. That football was so high up there that the only guy was getting it was that 6'5" receiver that caught the football. And so to me, you put him on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a 6'5" Mike Evans on one side and a 6'5" Vincent Jackson on the other. This kid is going to thrive. He can place the football where only those guys have a chance to make plays on it. He's going to be a heck of a pro to me. And if you give him an opportunity to play with that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, with the weapons that they have, add in an ASJ, Austin Seferian-Jenkins at tight end, that's a lot to deal with Jameis Winston pulling the strings in Tampa Bay, which is where I see him ending up in this year's NFL draft. That's going to do it for Jameis Winston and his NFL Draft Prospect 101 breakdown. It happens in the National Football League, whether big or small. We cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. We're going to start running through these very rapidly, so stay tuned and keep watching. I'll see you next time. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.